If you're doing paid advertising on LinkedIn, my recommendation is that you opt out of the LinkedIn Audience Expansion and the LinkedIn Audience Network, at least until you can see that your campaign is converting from traffic just from LinkedIn itself. I'll explain why with an example of where it can go wrong. I'm going into the settings for this particular campaign, going into Manage, just to show you what happened. Over here, you've got placement. When the campaign was set up, it was very much targeted on a particular audience. Certain locations were included, certain were excluded. We were specific about the employees, the industries they were within, and the job seniorities and functions. So we're very specific about what we wanted. And initially, we didn't opt out of two things within here. And those two things were enable audience expansion and here LinkedIn Audience Network. Let's explain these. Audience expansion effectively expands out, in theory, within LinkedIn itself to match up with people that are similar to the people that you want to target. The problem with that is you're allowing LinkedIn to go off and assume it knows what's similar to your audience. And in theory, you should have got your audience right in the first place when you set it up. There's also the worst one is the LinkedIn Audience Network. And that's a bit like the Google Content Network. Effectively, it will make your adverts visible outside of LinkedIn in front of people who, in theory, are a good match for what you want to be promoting to them. Now, originally we had both of these ticked and we just let it run. And LinkedIn are very clear, they don't want you to disable this. They tell you that you're missing out on cheaper clicks and more clicks. They want you to have these things opted in. But again, with Google Ads, for example, they automatically opt you into these things. So you have to untick them. And if you don't untick them, you'll get some very dodgy content and clicks. So let's see what happened during this campaign. For the time it ran, it spent 540, had 214 website visits. And we wanted to see what happened to each of those website visits. So we use the software that we use to actually identify what happened to those people after they came into the website. What we also did is make sure that the destination URL had UTM parameters on the end of them using the Google URL Builder. And with these, it gives us a view in any analytics system of people who definitively came through from that particular campaign. So according to LinkedIn, during this month, there were 214 website visits. When we go to look at the software, we can run a particular report. We can actually look at the same date range and run a report that identifies the people who came in from that particular campaign. So we had 214 according to LinkedIn, and then we run this report, and it shows us 170. And that's quite a big difference. And you can see here, for example, just go to another example here. This is the campaign. There's the UTM parameters there. So we know that this particular visitor came from that particular campaign. So we've got a difference between 170 and 214 of what LinkedIn said we got versus what we can see has come into the website. And although sometimes things aren't tracked, that's quite a big difference. We did have quite a few discussions with LinkedIn about this, and they could never categorically say where the clicks came from. They just didn't want to enter that dialogue. What was of more concern was when we started to see referrers that were outside of LinkedIn. Things like this Amazon ad system, and there were some other ones in there that were bringing in traffic from other places, which appear to be to do with the LinkedIn Audience Network. Here, for example, a website called Hot Cars brought someone in, and that's not really the target market at all. And there have been various examples like that. The Media Trust here. And what we were finding is a lot of these people coming in from these sources were going to one page and no further. And so we had to question the quality of that traffic that LinkedIn was sending us. So let's have a look at this one, for example. This is someone, the system can identify them as being from a university in this particular case. And we could see they came from that referrer. And as we go down, we can see lots of the similar sort of thing. And here's another example. This is the Media Trust one. So when we go off and look at the overall referrers to the website in that time, we start to look down them and start to ask questions about what the traffic was from those locations. What I've done here is I've looked at the various referrers into the website and I've ticked those where I think, why would we have a referrer coming from those particular locations into the website? And we're going to have a look at those in more detail. Just looking at a few of them. This one's come from this website. I click on it. It seems to be some sort of a job site where the advertising would have been on there. Nothing to do with the target market. This one here, Crypto Potatoes, have a look at that. Everything to do with crypto. Again, nothing to do with the target for this particular campaign. And we go on and on. Basically, these are places where the ads have been placed by LinkedIn or their network, and they're just so irrelevant to their target market and the customer. If we look to this data another way, let's go into one of them, and what we can do is we can filter by how many of those 60 people went to only one page. And we get 60 who only went to one page from this particular referrer. So this is from the LinkedIn paid ads campaign outside of LinkedIn, highly likely to be the audience network option. So that gets you thinking, do I need to switch everything off within it? And my view is, yes, you do initially, and then you can always add these things in later on. So let's go back to the campaign. So what we've got here are two options to consider. The audience expansion appears to be within LinkedIn itself, whereas the LinkedIn Audience Network are all these other websites outside of LinkedIn that are bringing people in and appear to be rubbish traffic. So apart from the recommendation to have them switched off initially, just make sure you look out for that. You could bring them in at a later stage. Let's say, for example, your paid ad was showing you that you were getting people converting once they landed on your website from those paid ads within the LinkedIn network itself. So you're only targeting people on LinkedIn directly, your target market that you've specified here, and you're tracking what happens to those people page by page after they land on your website. If you're getting conversions from those people, then you know there's a good match between your ad, the targeting, and what your website is achieving for you. If you're not getting a good result out of that, then you wouldn't expand it out to any other visibility like audience expansion or the audience network. Personally, I wouldn't make it visible on the audience network at all unless you were getting really good conversions from your core campaign. And I would probably start off with enable audience expansion, but only after you've proved that it works. I hope this is useful and helps you avoid the same mistake that was made here by allowing those things to be opted in automatically.